these are the problems, okay? These are the problems, and then, so they kind of, they started, they assign one person, they giving him monthly this much of rupees, so that he would be the guardian of the battery of the sensors over there. So these are real issues, okay? Small issues, but real issues. So of course, low application develop the point in time, because suppose you have made an application, you just have to download it and then you start running it because your device is with you. Right, so this is just an example. I'm going to just give you one example, and there are several people are working in this area, and in NERIS also, I'm working with my research scholars on this, and we have a project, and we have been working, we just finished this now, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of the research that we are doing at the end, okay? That will be just the introduction. But let's just have an example. This talk is just mainly to make us all aware what's going on and what we can do with our mobile devices. That's all that I have intended to do today. Okay, so here's an example. There's an MCS-based public transport information service. All right, and it is in a European country. So they have live timetable service of public transportation. So what they do is they use the mobile devices of crowd passengers to gather data. So, people will be traveling in the buses, and they will be using those mobile devices will be using that software, and they will be able to send the data about that particular bus. Where is it going? Because every mobile has got its GPS coordinates, isn't it? So after every minute, as you're going along the bus, you send the GPS coordinates. The people are able to track where your car is going, or where your bus is going. So what happens is, you will be able to see. Yeah, I'll show you later on. Mobile devices. Oh, yeah, this is done, and so here we are. Now, for example, they had something like this on the mobile, on a mobile app. They are able to see using Google Maps. They are able to see where are the public transports, buses at a particular time. Okay, that's very interesting, isn't it? Suppose in Italian also we know, of course, many of us here may not be using public transport, and you may have your private vehicles, but for those who depend on public transport, it's for students and so on, it's something very important. Because they will know, okay, this bus I'm waiting for, and now it is at that particular place. It will take some time to come here, so I can just go to the shop and buy something and come back. These are some of the things that can be done. So this is what they have done, and these are the different MCS application types. You name it, you have use of MCS everywhere. Event monitoring, transport and traffic planning, and so on and so forth. These are some of the application types. And in more detail, you have so many people working on this MCS, and you have right from nature preservation, noise pollution measurement, air pollution, and so on and so forth. People are really exploiting the power of the crowd. Okay. So some of the things we don't need to go through them. I'm just giving you this so that you have an idea about these that people are working really on this particular area. So now another example. This is closer home. These are my students who have just done one, and this is about monitoring, MCS-based disaster monitoring. There was this recent incident, maybe 2 years back, or 3 years back, around 3 years back. The road to zero was blocked, and many people they used to get stuck after going there, because they didn't know about this. Getting stuck, and I know people who stayed from morning till evening stuck there because they are not able to come out, they are not able to go, and so on. So the idea is, for such kind of an application. Suppose somebody over there, from his mobile, using this app, is able to just take a picture of that landslide and say, okay, it's a drought, it's a landslide, and just send it to the server. And, whether the capital administration or somebody who's looking at that will be able to sense it, and maybe will be able to send out a message. Or if you're able to, if through another software, you are able to see the real situation, how many, what are the landslides, in which places, and so on. That would really help. So this was an example prototype application that my students had done, and they just used an internet Firebase. They just put up it on Firebase, and we were able to see, collected at the Firebase, and we were able to, see that yes, this can be an application. So this is what it is. So for example, this was just what they have made. This is the admin application. From the admin side, you're able to see, okay, if there's a landslide, you'll be able to see things like that. Of course, it was just a test, so we had also sensed other things like accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, and so on and so forth, and magnetometer, and so on. And we had sent, up to the server, and we were looking at the server, the data that had been sent to the server, and we were able to see these things. Of course, we were never able to go to a landslide area and take a picture, so this is my office room. So here we are. When we talk of MCS architecture, now coming back to a little bit of the research we are doing, I don't know how much time more I have, maybe I have 10 minutes. So we have MCS architecture over here, which, if you really want to get into real research, applied research is one thing, and another one is fundamental research. Applied research is, yes, I build my application and so on and so forth, and make it work so that people can use it right now. Yes, that's one good thing. But there are also areas where people are doing fundamental research. They are trying to find out better ways of doing things. Like, for example, I have here MCS management, security, privacy, trust, and so on and so forth. So security schemes, there are different algorithms which you can use, or different schemes which you can use for solving security problems that arise in MCS. So many people are working in that area also. So that's what we do. In my group, with my scholars, we are working on some issues over here, some research areas over here, particularly task allocation and security and privacy and incentive mechanisms. We are working on that. So if you look at this, this is what would an architect, MCS architecture really look like? It looks a little like this. You have some people who are interested in some data. Like, for example, I showed you the temperature thing. People sending temperature, sense temperature from zero, from temperature, from ALO, and then setting up and so on and so forth. But there should be somebody to consume it, right? There should be somebody who says, I'm interested. For example, the capital administrator and say, okay, I want an app like this. I want data, I want temperature data, I want this data of whatever data. So they are called the requester, right? You call it the task requester or the task publisher. They are the ones who say, okay, I have this task, I have this sensing tasks, and I want people to do this. So this is what we call as the task publisher. And so what happens is the service request, okay, I want temperature data from this year to this year, and that kind of a thing is given, and the service request is given, and after that, right, so the service response, okay, it's possible or not, that kind of thing is given back here, and the next thing is, now, crowds have to be recruited, isn't it? See, not everybody will be interested in joining your campaign. Meaning, suppose you say, okay, or suppose Arunachal government says, okay, we want temperature from all the districts, or things like that, or we want pictures of some parks from all the districts, and then so on and so forth. Arunachal government may say, but how many people will be willing to do that? That's the question. So we have issues here. And then what's the main thing? Is without money, it's very difficult to get people these days, right? And money also has to be good money. Otherwise, if you give 100 rupees per day, nobody is going to come. It doesn't give me a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or things like that. So you see here, you have to recruit people. Now, recruitment is also another very important research area. So how do you insensitize, right? Insensitize. This is called incentive scheme. You have to have some incentive scheme so that people will be willing to join your campaign. We call it the campaign, MCS campaign. Okay, so This is some of the things. So recruitment is what you have to do, and after recruiting the people, you have to give the tasks. You have to allocate the tasks to the people. Suppose 5 people have joined the campaign from 0, and then you give them the task to sense the temperature or sense the water quality in the Aporijo. They're not going to go, isn't it? So looking at who have joined from the Aporijo, right? And you give the tasks related to the Aporijo to those people, and the tasks related to 0 to the people in 0, and so on. This is what is called task allocation. You look at how far is the person away from that place and so on. So there are several schemes. People are really working on this also, where they try to maximize the profit of the platform, or you say reduce the time taken to do the task, and so on. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea about what things can be done. So then after that, after the users have been recruited, they send data and they send back to the servers, and this data processing, pre-processing, or whatever. So many things will be done. So these are the areas. This is the data processing part, crowd data processing part. This is the data collection part. So data storage, sensor gateways, and so on. Data anonymization is something which is also very important. What is anonymous? Anonymous, you don't know who the person is. You talk of anonymous letters somebody has written, and you say, okay, this person is too scared to show his name, so he writes an anonymous letter. So why do we do that in MCS particularly? Now, if we do that because privacy is very important. Suppose I join an MCS campaign, and you are able to track me everywhere. I'm going to Itanagar, I'm going to New Delhi, I'm going to this place, I'm going to this particular hotel and eating my dinner, and I'm going here with my children to the park. If you're able to see everything about my personal life, it's going to be a trouble, isn't it? So we do things like this. This is called privacy. This is called, privacy preservation. We have to preserve the privacy of the people who are involved in the MCS campaign, and such things can be done using data anonymization. So you have the latitude and the longitude. You transform it into some other kind of data so that people will not be able to find out. And we are also working in that area in our department right now. So this is a basic idea about what are the many things that can be done in MCS. Now, just before I close, I just want to just give you just a small idea about what we have done in crowd data processing. Is my time up, or 5 minutes? I'll take that. So crowd data processing. This is where I want us all to have a look at, just have a peek, and see one particular thing what we have done. We are doing so many other things, but just an idea. So a peek into crowd data processing. Now, after getting the data from the users, how do I use it? How do I take it? How do I analyze it? How do I make it into a useful output? So the first one could be data visualization, that is Google Maps to show live location of public buses, which we have already seen, and prediction, forecasting, the temperature next year in July in 0, what would it be, and so on and so forth. And missing data inference is also something very important, and etc. You can have a lot of things. I want to just concentrate on missing data inference, which we are working on, and I'll just give you a look into a small work a small look into our work which we have done. So here I am. This is one particular work. This is about crowd data processing. So this is on missing data inference. What is missing data inference? It's something like this. You cannot have enough people to suppose join a campaign. So suppose you need people, suppose you need 100 people in 0 to join a campaign to find out the the temperature, or the water quality of the rivers and so on. You need 100 people, but you're not able to get 100 people. You get around 50 people only. Then what do? What you do is you say that okay, I have got the values for only 50 people. I want to get the values of the other areas also. So what you do is you estimate the values of those missing data, right? For example, in 0 there may be, suppose, 100 localities. You need 100 people to sense in 100 localities, but you get only 50 people. So you get the data of the 50 people and you estimate, or you estimate the sense data of the other 50 areas which was not sensed actually. So this is what we call as missing data inference. And this is one particular work we did, and then we had just published it last year. So the sensing, it's very simple. I'm not going into the details, but just to give you a little bit of an idea about what is done. So the sensing area is subdivided into sub-areas, and data sensed from the sub-areas exhibit spatial and temporal correlation. For example, temperature. This is something very simple. What is the meaning of that? Suppose temperature, temperature in Italy and temperature in Italy, they will not be so different from each other because they are near to each other. Right? So that's the meaning of spatial correlation. Because we are near to each other, spatial is nothing but space. Because we are near to each other, where the temperature is, the sense environmental condition, for example, temperature is, the temperatures are around the same. But if you talk of the temperature at New Delhi and the temperature at 0 right now, there'll be a lot of difference because there's a lot of space difference between New Delhi and 0. So that's the meaning of it. And especially temporal also. Temporal correlation, what's the meaning that you can understand by now. So suppose 12 o'clock now, the temperature now is going to be much similar to the temperature at 1 o'clock rather than from now to, if I compare from now to midnight 12 o'clock. So the shorter the distance in the terms of time, you're going to have similar sense values, otherwise you're going to get larger sense value. So what you do is, in this missing data inference, you say only some selected sub-areas need to be sensed. Because I know that, okay, this is similar to this, you take the average, that kind of thing. So data for the remaining cells are inferred from the sensor data. Inferred means estimated or calculated from the sense data. So this is just an idea. I've already explained to you about distance between sub-areas decided by time. So the distance, the sense value of this particular point of this sub-area will be much farther from here than from this. I've already explained to you this. And so here also, distance between sub-areas is decided by space. This one's sense value will be far away from this one's, but it will be nearer to this. Okay, so in this particular research, what we did was we calculated distance using these two distance measures, time and space. We say, okay, time is also important, space is also important, so we combined it. We have some function, we have some, come up with some formula, which I'm not going to show you, it's not required, but we just calculate the distance using these two distance measures. And what do we do with that distance measure, the calculated distance measure? To deduce the sense value of a sub-area, get the k nearest neighboring sub-areas, which is nearest. And this nearest is dependent upon the distance formula that we have created, which, of course, I cannot explain here now. It's not required also. So here, value of k is given by the user. So you use the k nearest neighboring sub-area sense values and then calculate the value of the missing data, missing sub-areas. Sense value. So calculate the average of the sense values of these k sub-areas. This average value is the result. Of course, I have very simply put average value, but it's a more complicated function, which I'm not going to show here, and it's not required. But this is just the idea. What can be done. So this is what we did, and so this is the idea. With the deduced value of d is taken from the neighbors A, B, C, and then we get the deduced value of it. Alright, so these are the references which I have used, and that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We can take new questions from the audience. Yes.
We have, actually it's like this. We have two parts to our what we are doing. We are mainly working on the fundamental research that is coming up with algorithms like this and with new schemes and all that. We are working mainly on that area. But that application is just a prototype application, just to test, okay, this also can be done like that. So it is not really running. Of course, I met the capital administration also in doing some informal function. And doing some function I met and I just told him, right, but we are not really interested in actually deployment and all that. Of course, if we focus on that, we can do that. But what will I think we are more interested in the, what is that called? The fundamental research, all the different schemes and so on. Because, we don't have that time or the strength to do focus so much on this yet. Because we have to do our PhD work. I mean, our PhD scholars are there. They have to do work and they have to do research work. So because of that. Otherwise, this application law, you take it to the capital administration and they may be willing to fund and they may be willing to do it. But there's no time to do all these things. That's the main problem is manpower. Because PhD scholars, they have to work in research areas. If they spend time in doing all these things, then their research suffers, and they want to finish in 5 years. They want to finish in 4 years. So that's very difficult. But if manpower is there, it can be done. For the whole state, it can be done. Very nicely can be done. In fact, the state can take up, some department can take up and do it also. It's not a problem. Any other?
You have discussed about the anonymized.
Yes.
I wanted to know what are some unique work
Yes, there are different techniques. People are using different techniques.
It's like IMEI number or
actually, there's so many ways. One thing is, you anonymize the what is that called? Anonymizing the entity suppose your latitude and longitude and so on and so forth. Instead of sending the actual latitude and longitude, you transform it into some other thing, and you send it. Correct. And so that people, even if they see it, they will not be able to make out. Yeah. So of course, what you say also, that so many people are working, they're using cryptography and so on. So several techniques people are working on in this particular case. So and what you say is correct. People are working on it. It can be done.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I invite Director cum Member Secretary of the State Council for Science and Technology, Sir Siti Munda, to propose the comment.
Good afternoon to everybody. It's been a pleasant day. So it's a privilege for me to have the opportunity to propose the board of science and these ad hoc technical sessions. First of all, I extend my heartiest thanks to Dr. Manishita, Assistant Professor from Temple University, for accepting our invitations and came all the way to Itanagar, and Dr. Dullah, also Assistant Professor from Temple University. I extend the heartiest thanks for delivering such a informative and beautiful lecture on IoT based basics of sensors. And my extent heartiest thanks also goes to Professor and Marjan, Madam from Harris, for having accepting our invitation on this occasion of Chief National Level Seminar. We look forward to have some more such events. Temple University and Harris have always been like a part of our family. For every occasions, Dr. Bhim Sharma from Temple University Mathematics Department, he will be here. Anytime we call, he is ready to be here. It's like a fatherly figure, and the science center is like his own children. And so is the Dennis. For every program, we go for, say, intellectual properties workshop or whatever we conduct in Dennis, and we invite here at science center, we always do that. So it's such, now these two institutions have become a part of our like a family. So if not one other, one of the other faculty members will always be here or the communications. So it's very happy to say that whenever we send our invitation for any kind of events, they are always there to help us and support us. So I once again extend my heartiest thanks to all the resource persons in today's program and my team for organizing this program. Tomorrow will be the valid to guide Dr. Apro, who is the leading this team. He is the leader in the team of organizing this program. So I extend my happy thanks to the team also and all the members gathered here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I want you to be here because we will be giving away the token of appreciation to our resource person. So, first, I would like to call Professor Ningvilla Marjan, Department of CSE, New Jubilee. Ma'am, please kindly receive a token of appreciation from the company. Now, I call Dr. Manishita, Assistant Professor, Electrical Engineer, Temple University, Assam. Ma'am, please. Please give us your round of applause. Now, I call Dr. Durlab Sanwar, Assistant Professor, ECE, Temple University, Assam, to receive a token of appreciation from Director himself. Please give a huge round of applause for Dr. Durlab Sanwar. Sir, you can take your seat now. With this, we end today's technical session. So lunch is ready here beside this board. I request everyone to join for the lunch. Oh yes, before we go for the lunch, please everyone on the stage, we have a good photograph with our dignitaries and resource personnel here. Please everyone.
Terus